Hello and welcome. Today's webinar titled Revit BIM for Residential. This webinar is brought to you by LiveLab Learning, which is a subsidiary of Academic Core, a wholly owned applied software company created to provide world-class training. This is your host, Henry Trevino. I'm delighted to be your moderator for today. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing any questions or comments using the questions pane. We will be answering the questions at the end of the presentation. Now, this webinar is being recorded and will be available to you online on our YouTube channel. We will also send you an email following the webinar with a link to the recording. Now, if you haven't already done, search LiveLab Learning on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers. When you visit our website, livelablearning.com, there is a complete schedule of our upcoming trainings. Now, please take note of some of the upcoming webinars. The next upcoming webinar is BIM Interiors, which is BIM and Revit for commercial interior design, taking place Tuesday, January 12th at 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do also take note of some of our upcoming events. Now, following the question and answer at the end of the webinar, we'll be giving away a $25 Visa gift card. Now, you must be present to win the gift card. I'd like to introduce you Senior AEC Application Consultant Mike Massey, as he will be today's speaker for the presentation of Revit BIM for Residential.
Thank you, Henry. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Mike Massey, and I'm with Applied Software. And I'm here today to talk about how BIM can affect the residential type projects that we may work on. So I will go ahead and get started. Let me first of all do a little bit of introduction. This is a picture of myself, so you can kind of put a name, face with the name there. But as far as myself, I've got about 25 years of experience in the AEC industry. 15 of that was working as an architect, doing anything from houses to hospitals. And the last 10 years, I've been in the role of implementing new technology with Autodesk resellers, teaching mainly Revit, but still covering AutoCAD, the AutoCAD products, and other things like that. I'm a repeat speaker at events like Autodesk University. Matter of fact, 2 weeks ago I was in Las Vegas talking there. I also am a contributor author to the actual training manuals that Autodesk offers. I wrote the Revit manual a couple years ago for Autodesk. And I also have all the certifications that they make me have to do this job. So I've got all those listed there as well. So that's a little bit about me. I am working remotely today, so hopefully everything will go okay as far as my internet. I'm on a wireless internet at a customer site, so hopefully I won't have any glitches, but we'll just continue on there. So today, I guess there's been a lot of misconceptions and a lot of I guess people thinking that Revit itself is used for large projects. It's really not a tool for small projects like residential houses and stuff like that, and I think just the opposite. I think it's a better tool for small projects than anything else. I think it's just a matter of learning how to use the tool. So today I want to show you some key features that you can use if you're doing residential projects. Just kind of show what Revit can do, and just kind of let you kind of see how it works in there a little bit to kind of take some advantages of how Revit works. Now, the biggest thing that's different from Revit from other CAD programs that you may be coming from, like AutoCAD and other programs, is that it is a single file model. And so as you work in your Revit model, it does everything that you do is in that one file. So as you make changes, as you change move a wall or delete a window or add a window or whatever, it's going to be affected everywhere. So it's instantly updated, so all your documents are going to look the same. And so it's really got this change it once, change it everywhere type of attitude, so that you can make sure that everything's kind of coordinated in there. As far as providing actual construction documents, you know, with tags and dimensions and notes, it's very powerful in that arena that we can come in there and start tagging things and noting things, because they're not just lines, arcs, and circles that we're using. They're very intelligent objects. And these objects will have properties that we can assign to them, so it knows that a 3-foot door is a 3-foot. So, you know, as far as tagging that, we can use intelligent tags in there to pull in those properties to kind of automate the process of everything, so we don't have to go in there and type in manually type in information on the tags. It's just going to read the properties for you. So let me just kind of show you a little bit how this works. So if I want to start documenting a set of documents in there with tags, dimensions, and notes in there. So here's a house plan that I've got going on, and I'll just kind of start with some tagging tools here. So I've got some spaces, rooms in there that now I'm just coming in there and adding the room tag information. So this is calling out the room name. It's also calling out the number and the overall dimension of the rooms in there as far as the width and depth of the room. There is some tag all tools in there that you can go in there and tag all, so you don't have to go in there and pick them one at a time, that you can tag everything at once. So now I'm switched over, now I'm tagging some doors in here, and again you can see that this information is coming in with the door number and also the width and height of the door, and I'm not having to type in anything. It's all in the properties of the door. So I'm just kind of sped up a little bit and kind of fast forward, and so I could go ahead and finish tagging all those doors. Windows work the same way. I can tag a window, and I've got a specific tag that I'm using here that's just calling out the width and the height of the window. You can have other properties in this window tag if you want them, but that's all I really want on my residential projects is just the width and height of the windows. So again, I kind of sped it up, so kind of fast forward a little bit, so now all the windows are tagged in there. As far as placing actual dimensions, I can start the dimension command and just start picking on what I want to dimension in here. So I can pick on the walls in there, and it will start adding dimensions. I can do continuous dimensions just by keep pulling my dimension over and picking new things, or I can do an overall dimension. So pretty quickly we can go in there and start dimensioning our plans up and have a full set of dimensions. You can add dimensions as far as fitting another dimension in there. If you leave one out, you can go back there and just pick on the wall, and we'll add that dimension to that as well. So again, it's pretty powerful. Pretty quickly you can put some dimensions in there, and all these are associated dimensions, which means that you can go back there and move the walls, and the dimensions are actually going to get updated. You can also do text. So if I want to do just some notes in there and start typing out manually some general notes and text, here I'm calling out a built-in bookcase or a built-in cabinet, calling that out in my plan, just kind of noting that out, and also maybe noting out that this is the fireplace. So again, just manual notes, you can do that as well. So you can use tags or manual notes, whichever best fits your needs there. As far as putting this all on a sheet, getting it ready to print, you can create sheets inside of Revit, and then you just drag and drop your views onto the sheet. So I can just drag and drop any view I want to on the sheet and place it however I want to on the sheet, and now it's sitting there on my sheet ready to be printed. And this is a live view, so if anything does change, if I move the walls or change the dimensions or notes or anything like that, the view is instantly going to change and get updated so that my sheet's always showing the correct plan, I guess. So again, it's very powerful in coordination as far as keeping things coordinated in there, so we don't have views on sheets that maybe need to be updated or anything like that. It's going to be the most current view always on your sheet there. So that's a little bit about construction documents. Let's move on and talk a little bit about some other tools that are in there. This is talking about what I call just colored floor plans. And we can create these colored floor plans very easily, but it just gives us a visual analysis of what's going on with our model. So I'm going to show you 3 different examples here. One is just showing a colored floor plan to call out the different room names. So if we're looking for a key room or looking for the bedrooms or whatever, we can color code this out so that we can have the bedrooms as one color or whatever. The next example is going to show you how we can do this with square footage information. And there's actually 2 ways I'm going to do it with square footage information. I'm first going to list the square footage, and then I'm going to change it to be a range value and set up some ranges in there so that I can have colors in there, color code, anything between 0 and 100 square feet, for example, or 100 and 200 square feet, for example, or whatever it is. We can set up different values in there and range it so that we have a colored floor plan based on square footage information. And finally, I will show the last one in there that's going to color code it by the floor finish. And again, this is just another option. We could do lots of other parameters as far as the ways to color it up. But the floor finish is going to give me an option that I can actually assign the floor finish to the room, and the color legend is going to actually color code it based on what it is, and graphically we can see where the carpet is, where the tile is, where the wood floor is, or whatever it is. We can see that graphically by color there. So let me just kind of walk you through this. So in this plan, I'm going to go up and start placing this legend. And so when I place it, I'm going to place it off to the side out there, and then I get to pick what I want to color in there, the type that I want to color in there. So I just did rooms first of all, but you can go in and modify it. You can also do things like change the colors. Like I don't like this black color it made for the garage, and so I'm going to change that to kind of more of a brown color. So you've got complete control over the colors that it uses in there as well. So there's my room legend calling out all the different rooms. I'm going to switch now and show you that area legend. So I'm going to put another color fill in this other view and change this to show the actual areas of the room. Do that just by editing the schedule and changing the parameter at the top to be calling out the area parameter instead of the room name parameter in there. So I can pick area, and it's going to list all the areas in there. So that's kind of nice. Every area does a different square footage, so I'm not sure if that's doing too much for me. So I'm going to go in there and create some ranges in there and just add some ranges, and I'm going to increment it maybe by every 50 feet. So I'm going to put all these 50-foot increments in there, and it's going to create a different color for every 50 feet. So now we can go in there and see, okay, which rooms are between 100 and 150 square feet or 200 and 250 square feet, and kind of get some values in there so quickly we can kind of get some room dimensions and room areas in there. And finally, I'll do the third one in there by placing another legend in there, and this time we'll look at the floor finish. So I'm going to modify this schedule and go in here and create me a floor finish color legend in there. And when I do that, I'm just going to go over and use the parameter for the floor finish, and it will start calling out the floor finishes automatically for me. So these are coming from the rooms themselves. So if I want to modify one, I'll pick on the living room there and just go to the properties and change the carpet. So I'm going to type in maybe carpet 3 for this living room. So it instantly adds to the legend over there a new color swatch and adds me a carpet 3 and changes the color for carpet 3 in there. So again, just a great way to visually see what's going on with your plans and show your customers, give them options in there so they can have an understanding of what's going on in the plans in there. I'll move on. Another big powerful feature, of course, inside of Revit are schedules. So a while ago we were tagging things inside of Revit, tagging the doors and the windows and things like that. Basically, the rule of thumb is if you can tag it, you can schedule it. So we can create door schedules, we can create window schedules, we can create room schedules to call out areas and square footages and things like that. It's endless as far as what we can do with these schedules. They're very, very powerful. They are all live too, so if anything changes, if we add doors, add windows, or modify the room size or any way, these schedules are instantly going to be updated so that they always are showing the correct information. So I'll build a couple of schedules here. So I'm going to start in here by coming down and creating what's called a room schedule. And so this is going to allow me to call out the room names and numbers and also the areas and stuff like that. So I'm just going to kind of build it. We got all these list of parameters that we can use to build it by. So I'm going to start with the level and then the name and the number and then the area in there. We can also sort it by different methods. I'm going to sort it first of all by level and have level 1 rooms all together and then level 2, and then we'll sort it by the number. Also going to check the grand totals at the bottom to give me some grand totals of some items in there. So when I say OK, it quickly builds the schedule so we can see that all the rooms are listed there. It's listing out the level, the room number, the name, and also the area in there. So again, very, very powerful to get some square footage information instantly just by creating that schedule. We've got a good representation of how big the house is. We can also create other types of schedule. This is going to be a door schedule. So I'm coming in there and creating a door schedule. Maybe we start with a mark as far as the door number in there and have that first. And then maybe I want the type of the door that it is and maybe the size of the door. So again, you're free to add any kind of parameter you want to the schedule and build it from this list and put it in any kind of order that you want to put in there. So very flexible, very easy to come in there to kind of add those parameters. So I kind of fast forwarded. I added a bunch of parameters in here for this door schedule so it can call out all kinds of information. Again, you can sort it by however you want to. You can change the formatting of the headers too if you want to. So instantly it creates this door schedule. And now it's got a bunch of columns in there that are blank, and that's simply because I haven't told it anything. I haven't told it, for example, who the manufacturer is or what the model number is or anything like that. But now I can start filling that information in. And again, this is all live data coming straight from the model, so if a door gets deleted, it's going to be off of the schedule instantly. And then I've just got a few slides in here talking about graphics. The graphics in Revit are really powerful. And so in this graphics section, I've got the first thing I'm talking about are sections. We are able to cut a section anywhere we want to, and sections will allow us to kind of see what's going on inside the model. once you kind of get a closed-in model with walls all the way around the outside, it's hard to look inside of that model at this point. So we cut sections to look see what's going on in there. These sections are live. They're not static sections or anything like that. It is the live model that we see in the sections, which means that we can make geometry change and model changes in the section view. So my rule of thumb is if it's easier to draw it in a section, let's go to a section, let's draw it in a section. If it's easier to draw in a plan, let's draw it in a plan view. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you draw it. The sections are looking at the same model that the plans are. So we can pick on a door and modify it just as easy in the section as we can in a plan view. So let me just kind of show you how this works real quick. I'll go in here and I'll just start the section marker command and just cutting a section down through my building. And as soon as I do that, it creates a section. I can double click and it will go straight to the section. So this is a live section. So I'm going to kind of tile my views side by side so you can see the plan adjacent to the section as I work in here. And I'm going to change this double door out. I'm going to change it and swap it out to be a single door type. And when I do, it instantly changes the section, but notice in the plan, it's changed, and also the tag's been updated. So again, that coordination is huge, making sure that our plans are matching our sections and our callouts are the right callouts and stuff like that. Also, when we put these on a sheet, if I create a sheet to put this section on, again, it's just a drag and drop, so I can find the section off my list and drag and drop it. But as soon as I place it on a sheet, it's going to recognize what sheet it's on and also the detail number that it is. And look what it does. It automatically fills in the section head so that my detail number and my sheet number is always going to be correct in there. So it's going to follow that section, whatever sheets it's on. If it gets renumbered or renamed, that tag is instantly going to get updated to always include the correct number and name. And again, just visually, I know a lot of times visually we want our house plans to look, I guess, artistic. So we've got a couple of different ways that we can do this. And I'm just going to flip through some slides here and just show you some options that we can use on this front elevation. So if this is the front elevation of the project, this view right here is not bad in my mind. I've kind of changed the background to almost a pale yellow background, so it almost looks like the old butter paper that we used to sketch on back in the old days. But anyway, it just kind of gives it a nice look there with the pale yellow background there. But anyway, I can use this type of view, or there's some options that we can turn on. The first option I'll turn on are sketchy lines. Sketchy lines you can turn on to enable it to look more like a hand-drawn drawing instead of such rigid lines in there. So again, that's just a toggle that you can turn on. You can also control how sketchy you want it, so you can make it more or less sketchy, and you can also control how far your lines kind of overlap each other. You can kind of see that the lines kind of overlap the ends. You've got some adjustments there if you want that to be less or more. You can kind of overlap them, change the lengths of those. So again, that's looking a little bit better as far as artistically looking like a hand-drawn front elevation of that. The next thing we can do is simply just turn on shadows. And so if I turn on shadows, we can orient this building into the real-world orientation as far as which way north is. And we can do some sun and shadow studies if we want to see what the shadows are going to be doing at a certain time of day on a certain day of the year in this particular location. So get some true, very accurate shadow studies in there. But again, as far as a front elevation, I think this adds to it, just having those shadows turned on. It just gives it that added depth in there. It's really nice as far as looking at that elevation. And then finally, we can start turning on colors. And so just by turning on colors, all the materials that we're using on our project, they have properties that we can assign colors to. And so we can start using these colors and setting up the materials and having it look more realistic here. Also, the trees have been changed in this view, so they're not just cardboard figured trees anymore. Now we actually see the leaves on the trees, and it looks like they look like real trees and stuff in there now. So again, it's getting better. And then this last option that I've got in here is simply going to go in there and now turn the background on to a sky view, and now we can see the sky in the background. So again, you can take any one of these levels of representation as far as what you'd like your elevations to look like. I just wanted to show you that all these are just settings inside the project that we can change and turn on. This is the same elevation. All I did was change the settings, and it graphically started changing the way it looked. And so you can set this up if you like this one as your default. We can tell it that this is our default way that we want our elevations to look. So every time that we make an elevation, it instantly looks like this, and we don't have to have any adjustments done to it. So we can kind of pre-configure that in our template file so that when we do start a project, it is set up initially just like we like it. So again, very powerful. And none of this is renderings. I didn't even touch the renderings here. We could take a view and actually render it and create a rendered image, but this is just turning on colors and shadows is all this is. And so there's no wait time for this as far as waiting for it to render or anything like that. You can create some pretty nice views without having to create a rendering in there. All right, 3D views. We can do all kinds of things with 3D views. One of the most powerful things I think inside of Revit is the ability to turn on what's called a section box. And this section box will allow us to start cropping the view down to create a 3D sectional view in there. And so we can create sectional views around anything we want to there. I typically, when I start modeling, working on a project, I will go ahead and create a 3D view for each individual level. So I'll have a 3D view of just level 1 and a 3D view just of level 2. And basically you can use this section box to kind of take the 3D view and start cropping it down just to show that one level, just to show the level 2 or wherever you want to show there. So again, these are all live views too. So if you want to work in this 3D view, you can modify things in a 3D view, you can draw in the 3D view. It's all looking at the same model. Again, it's not a copy or anything like that. It's the live model that we're looking at. So just to kind of show you kind of quickly how we create something like this, I'm just going to first of all switch to the default 3D view. This is the default that you just push a button and it creates this view for you. But then we can go over and turn on that section box. And it's just a checkbox in the properties. But when I turn it on, it makes a little wireframe box around my project with grips on it. And I can start pulling the grips and just start sectioning my model anywhere I want to. So I can pull it down to just the first floor, or I could pull the front box edge in to kind of create a sectional view looking inside the house. And so again, that's very powerful to be able to show your clients a visual like that so they can visually see what's going on with your model. You can also just zoom up around something. If I just want to see, well, okay, I want to see what the stair and fireplace looks like, I can just draw me a box around that and tell it to create me a 3D view, and it will create me a 3D view of nothing but just that core box that I selected there and have all the elements in there. So it's a great way to kind of create just a 3D view of certain parts of the building in there. So I can do the same thing with the kitchen. So if I want to show the client what the kitchen looks like, I can just draw a box and select the kitchen and instantly go to that kitchen view, and it creates me that 3D view of nothing but the kitchen. So again, very visual, very powerful to be able to talk to your clients and customers about the design of the house if they can visually see it in a 3D view. I know a lot of people that I've designed houses for, they have trouble visualizing the 3D-ness of it when they're looking at a 2D plan, but this is going to help out tremendously for you to be able to have the ability to go in there and instantly create these 3D views. You can also make perspective views. What I was just doing in those previous views, they were all isometric. They were not perspective, but we can make perspective views as well. We just have to place a camera and place the camera where we want the perspective view to be looking at. So again, these are very powerful. The image on the screen here is not a rendering or anything. It's just a live camera view. I did turn on sketchy lines to kind of make it look like that hand-drawn effect, but that's and turn on colors and shadows. But this is just a live camera view looking from the kitchen, looking into the living room there. So we can place these cameras anywhere we want to and put as many as we want to in there. So again, they're very powerful. You can actually model in this 3D perspective view as well. And so you can do whatever you want to in these views. So just to kind of show you how easy it is to kind of create those views, I'll zoom up and just start the camera come in. And it's pretty much a point and shoot. So I'm going to stand in the kitchen. So I'll pick my first point, and then I'll pull it over and pick my second point that I want to be looking at, the direction I want to be looking in, and it instantly creates the view for me. I can stretch it out to show more or less by changing my crop box if I want to adjust the view in any way, but it's pretty simple to do and quick and easy. And again, being able to show your client exactly what it looks like standing in the kitchen, looking into the living room is something that a lot of programs out there can't do very easily. So very powerful, great tool to use to show off your design. And then you can do walkthroughs. And so this is just a video of I guess it's not really actually a walkthrough. It's just a spin around, but I used the walkthrough command to create this. And so I just drew me a path kind of up in the sky around my building, kind of an oval path around my building, and just kind of drew my path in there, and it instantly created this video file. So again, a great way to give an overall view of the project so they can see all sides of it. You can stop this video, pause it, fast forward, whatever you want to do. You can also actually do walkthroughs through the actual building. So we could draw a path through the front door, into the living room, through the kitchen, and out the garage, or whatever you want to do to kind of give them that 3D walkthrough effect. And again, it's very easy. It's just point and clicks as far as drawing the path, and it will instantly create the video for you. And again, another way to illustrate and show off your design to your clients out there. So very powerful. So, as far as Revit in itself, it's a very powerful tool. Yes, we can do high-rise commercial buildings in it. Yes, we can do hospitals, but yes, we can do residential type projects in it as well. In my mind, there's really not any difference between, a residential type project and a high-rise. The core features are going to be there. We're still going to have floor plans, elevations, and sections and details. And, it may not be as many in a house or whatever, but the core features are still there. So I still need a tool in there to assist me to create the floor plans and elevations. And Revit will be able to create that 3D model as we're doing it. So you get a lot of added benefits for using a Revit program like this. I know back when I was using just AutoCAD, and it's very time consuming to create a floor plan and then start projecting the lines down to start creating the elevations by hand or whatever. Yes, you can do it, but it's very time consuming, whereas Revit, it's going to be a whole lot faster, a whole lot more automated, and it's instantly going to change and update as you make changes to the plan, because we all know that the change is going to happen. They're going to want to make changes to it. So, ability to come in there and make those changes quickly is very powerful, that we come in there and do that. So with that, I hope that kind of gave you a quick little overview of of what Revit can do for a residential type project. This went a little bit faster than I thought it would, but that's okay. It kind of leaves us some additional time in there for questions and that we can try to answer. So I think that there is a question section over in the panel in there that you can do. Oh, here's the walkthrough. Here's the spin around. This is the same one before I go to the questions. This is the same one. I just turned the colors on and turned the trees on. So again, creating that topo surface, given it an environment as far as putting landscaping in there, grass, your driveways and stuff like that. Very powerful to kind of come in there and create a typical view like this. Okay, so with that, we'll open it up for questions and see if there's any questions. I said this went a little bit quicker than I thought it would, but Henry, are you there to see if we've got any questions?
I am. So far, we had one that came in, and it's more of an explanation, but a question as well. It says that the toggles are great, but the building and the document can take a lot of time and evolves during the design process. Can you talk about how to manage that? For instance, while developing the plan, there may not be much, if any, detailed information in the third dimension, but that'll come later. Can you discuss that process?
Sure. As I'm drawing it and modeling it in a plan view. And I say modeling, I'm not just drawing lines, I'm actually modeling in the plan view. So as I draw a wall, that wall actually has an elevation to it, it has a height. And so when I draw a wall, it's drawing an 8-foot tall wall, so it's creating the model as I'm drawing it in the plan view. So yes, you're right, it does take a lot of time to develop the plan, and especially with different changes and things like that. But as you're modeling in there, it is creating the 3D model as you're doing it in plan view. So like I said, you can model in 3D view, section view, or whatever you want to do. It's all going to be the same model, but it's creating that model as you're working in the 2D environment. I think that kind of answered it. Not 100% sure.
Okay, and one of the other questions that came in was, how do you go about setting up for exterior elevations or third views to be represented the same throughout the project?
Okay, great question. I'll tell you what, I would planning on doing this, but I'm okay with trying to do this. Hopefully it will work and it won't crash on me. I'm opening up Revit in the background right now. Once it gets open, I'll switch over to it. Basically, the way I do it is I try to get an elevation looking the way I want it to look. So I will turn colors on. If I want to turn on the sketchy lines, I'll turn on sketchy lines or whatever, and try to get that first elevation looking correctly in there the way I want it. And then we have usually at least 3 more elevations that we need to configure in there. What you can do is actually create what's called a view template. And a view template is going to go in and look at the settings of that first elevation and then allow you to let me open up this project. I'm sorry, I'm opening up the project in the background. Once you create that view template, you can then, it's going to remember all those settings. And so whatever you changed in there, whether it's the sketchy lines or turning things on and off or turning shadows on and off or whatever, it's going to remember all those things, and then you can apply that to the other elevations in there. So that way all your elevations graphically look the same way in there, and so you don't have to worry about remembering what settings you changed in there. Just get one looking right, and you may go back and forth on it, but then you can create that view template and then apply that to there. You can actually what I did, I actually took it one step further in my model. I actually went in and told it that I wanted to use that view template as the default. So every time I cut a section, I wanted to use this particular default. I wanted to use this view template, so automatically every time I cut a section, it looked the way I wanted it to look initially, because I defined that in the view type in there to use that default view template. So again, it's powerful in that arena too, that we can set it up once and have it set up. You can also, I would go even as far as taking some of those view settings in there and saving it in your Revit project template, which means every time you start a new project from scratch, it's going to use that template, and that template already has those settings set up the way you want them to look in there. So again, when you set it up once, then you won't ever have to do it again for any other project if that's the way you want it to look.
Okay, well, another question that came in, I don't know if you're still addressing this one, Mike, but I didn't know if you're ready for another one? New question?
Yeah, I'm ready. I just opened up this model in the background. It's just I can use it to help explain something if I need to.
Now, one of the other questions is, and I think this is an interesting one, is are there any unique features for structural engineers?
Okay. Yeah, I guess there's a whole side of Revit that we can put in columns and beams and braces and trusses and things like that. But as far as home design, I guess in there, we can put in different types of columns, like wood columns and stuff like that, or we can do some wood frame trusses and stuff like that. So yes, we can. I know that it's not going to do a framing plan right out of the box in there, but there are programs out there that's kind of like add-ons to Revit that will do the framing for you. That will come in there and put a stud every 16 inches or whatever you want it to be at, and put your headers in there above your doors and all that framing plan information. So you can create that framing model. But again, it's not out of the box that way, but there's some add-ons out there that are very nice that you can add on to do that with.
Okay, now are there, another question that came in is, are there any shapes that are more challenging to create than others?
Shapes of the house, I guess, is what that's referring to.
Right.
I'll say that the hardest thing I think about the residential project is going to be the roof. Typically, I spend more time on the roof than anything else. It does a very nice job and quick and easy job of creating a roof initially. And if you like what it spits out, you're good. I mean, you're done with it. But if you don't like what it spits out, that's when you're going to have to go in there and start tweaking it or modifying it. Just to show you in this project, if I go to the 3D view and look at this project, let me just turn this section box off. I can pick on this roof and show you I had to do this roof in multiple steps. And so this is not just one big roof. So if I pick on this main roof, that is the main roof of the project right there that's highlighted in blue. And then I came along and created another roof in here for this roof over the porch. The dormers here, those are separate little roofs that I put in there. And then on the back over here, these are different roofs as well. So I had to do this roof in multiple steps, and then you can join them together. So I did come in there and join them together. I've got a couple of awkward spots in here. Right through here, I think is a little bit awkward as far as how this roof ties into the main roof in there. But it was able to do it in there. So you just got to tweak it and work with it. I think the roofs are the hardest thing, but if you got a square building, of course that's going to be easier and quicker to do a square building than if you've got a different type of building. But for the most part, it will do any kind of shape. You just got to figure out how to put the roof on that shape.
Okay. Now, one of the other ones that came in a little earlier was, what is the most appropriate way to create a horizontal return of a fascia, a rake intersection, and can this return be a triangle?
I think I can answer that. It can be. You got different options as far as how the roof is going to be configured in there. As far as coming in over that overhang in there, if I pick on this roof, let me pick on the roof. There we go. We've got the options to first of all do either a rafter or a truss type of design, and so we can change it to be either a truss or rafter type of design, and then we can also change it to be either a plumb cut or a two-cut plumb or a two-cut square, and that's going to kind of change how that overhangs there as far as is it going to be plumb to the ground or is it going to overhang and be plumb to the angle of the roof or different things like that. But the two-cut square, that's going to probably give you what you're looking for as far as that triangular shape on that rake.
Okay, well, another question that we can address as well is, it's quite simple, is would you discourage linking 2D CAD details into a Revit file?
Not at all. I think that's perfectly fine. Revit's got the ability to bring in those 2D files, and for sure, if you got them already drawn in AutoCAD, by all means, there's no reason why you shouldn't reuse them and take advantage of them inside of Revit. By doing that, by doing that, you can go in there and link them in there, so if the CAD file changes, it will change the detail inside of Revit. I'm not sure if I got any details in here, but if I do not. I don't have any drafting views in here. But it's got a pretty good section here to draw the drafting views or detail views, just to show you if I come in here and start a new view from scratch and create me a drafting view, I can give this drafting view a name and call it my detail or whatever it is, and it creates this essentially a blank sheet of paper. And I've got drafting tools inside of here in Revit to start drafting a detail. So, if I want to come in here and start drafting maybe a footing or something like that, I can just come in here and start drawing a footing similar to the way I would do it in AutoCAD. And I've got text tools in here, dimension tools in here, hatch tools in here that I can start hatching this drafting view. But literally, this is just a blank sheet of paper that I'm drafting a detail in. If I wanted to bring in one from AutoCAD real quick, if I went out there and created me another drafting view from scratch and have me a second one in there, I can go up, instead of drafting it in from scratch, I can go up and just insert in a CAD file, and I can either import it in or link it in. If I link it in, it's going to be like an X reference. So it doesn't really matter. It works the same way, but I'll just bring one in real quick. And if I bring one in, here's an architectural, I guess this is more of a commercial type of detail, but it doesn't really matter. I can bring in, this is an AutoCAD file coming straight from AutoCAD, so I can bring that in, and as long as I don't need to make changes to it or modify it in any way, I'm good to go. I can put this on a sheet of paper and print it, and I'm done. I will say this, if you want to modify this, you could explode it here in Revit, but that is probably the worst thing you can do to start making your file size large. So I don't recommend exploding this and fixing it in Revit. I would honestly tell you to go back to AutoCAD, fix it in Revit, and bring it back in. Maybe eventually, 5 years down the road, if you're using nothing but Revit, maybe we do start converting these CAD details to Revit details, but there's no hurry on that. We can continue linking those CAD details in until we have them converted over to Revit details.
Okay, so another question that came in also was, how do you go about creating specific room 3D views while selecting the area on floor plan?
Okay, that is actually a new feature in 2016. So I'm in 2016 here, so if you don't have 2016, it's not going to work, but I'll just do this bathroom over here. So I'm just going to draw a selection around this bathroom right here and just highlight that area of the project right there. And in 2016, there's a new tool in here that's called Selection Box. And if I pick on Selection Box, it will jump me over to a 3D view, and it's going to turn on that section box, that crop box, and basically crop it down for me and give me that 3D view. And once you're here, it did do all the walls and everything, so if we wanted to, hide something in here, we're still free to pick on a wall or something in here and hide particular elements in there. So it's kind of hard to see in it right now, but we can go in there and start hiding things to kind of look inside of that. Maybe hide that one too. No, one more. There we go. Pick the wrong one. But you can hide these walls or make them transparent either way. That's another way you can start making transparent. But basically, it's just going to take whatever you have selected, that area, and instantly make a 3D view using that section box and cropping it down to match the area that you've got selected. So, but again, that is a new feature in 2016. It's not going to be there for older releases.
And Mike, I think this question also is a good one for a lot of folks, and it basically says, can you address the transition from AutoCAD to Revit and the learning curve involved, and maybe the recommended approach to doing that transition?
Sure. It is a change. Change is hard sometimes. So yes, it is different. I guess some of the same techniques are there, but it is a totally different program. So you're going to have to go through that learning curve, and typically I've seen it take 2 to 3 projects before you're kind of back at the speed you were maybe in AutoCAD. But after that, I think it's downhill from there as far as the speed. It's going to get faster and faster. So with that in mind, as you're working in here, you're working off a template in there, and the template can have a lot of things set up for you already. But yes, some of the commands are different. Some of them are same. So there's a learning curve there. It's just something you're just going to have to go through and make sure that you. I would kind of time it maybe on a project that's not a project that you've got to turn around very quickly with a quick deadline. Maybe practice or use a small project as your first project. That maybe have some extra time to work on. That way you can spend some extra time learning the program and not do your first project with a huge project that's got a real short deadline.
That's great. Are there any tricks to designing sloped roofs and components for residential roofs?
Yeah, like I said a while ago, I think I kind of maybe touched on that a while ago. You're going to have to do it in multiple options, but let me just kind of go back to my 3D view. Let me turn this section box back off in this view. Like I said, I did this project in multiple commands, but you've got a couple commands up there that you can help you with. One of them is this command right here. This is the join and unjoin roofs. So you can take 2 roofs and join them together. For example, you can watch the little video that pops up there on the button there. So I've got a gable roof that I'm tying into the other gable roof. So you can join those 2 roofs together in there using that join and unjoin command. So again, you can, as you create the roofs, you can create them separately and then come back and join them together however you want to.
Now, how about designing curved roofs and walls? Does this application apply as well?
Yeah, you can do that. So I'll just go back and kind of say what I'll just kind of go off to the side out here and just draw me some additional walls and stuff. So when I start the wall command, I do have different drawing tools up here. I can draw a line, or I can draw a rectangle, I can draw a polygon, or I can draw a circle. So if I have it on line mode, I'm out here just drawing lines as far as the this wall in there. So I can just draw lines in there to represent the wall. But if I come in there and want to draw a circular wall, I can go in here and change. Let me start again. Sorry, I escaped out of it. And I can pick my circle in there, and I'm just drawing a circle now. So now it's drawing a circular wall. If I want to draw an arc in there, I can come in here and snap to the start point and draw this arc in there. You can kind of basically you're drawing the width of the arc, and then you're telling it the angle of the arc. So you can draw arc walls in there. You can kind of see how it's cleaning it up as we do that. So let me just kind of jump back to the 3D so you can see this. It's going to be kind of out in the middle of my house, but anyway, you can see it out here. So there's my circular wall there, and there's the curved walls, the straight wall. So yeah, you can do curved walls and circular walls. I could actually put a roof on this. If I wanted to put a roof on this, it would come in there and put me a kind of like a pyramid roof on the circle in there, to kind of like a dome roof in there if I wanted to.
Okay, one of the other questions that came in as well, that is there a way that you can show how you, let me see, how can you show exposed rafter tails for the roof?
I guess a couple different ways. You can go back and model them individually, I guess. I've got a little detail in here that's really not the same thing, but just to kind of give you a brief example. I've added some decorative, I guess, members in here to kind of dress up these gable ends down here. So it could be something like that. It could become something that's added in there to expose the rafters in there, or if you actually have 3D members in there for the trusses or rafters, I mean, they're going to be visible, and so we can come in there and actually draw the members in there. I haven't done it in this project. This project is just including the members in the thickness of the roof, and so we don't see it. But we could come in there and make the roof smaller and actually come in there and draw the framing members in there that would be exposed that we could see. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different approach, but I think you could do it. It's just, I didn't take that approach on this project.
Okay. Now, one of the other questions as well, let me see here. I'm just moving up. Take a look here. Is what is the best way to represent walls in a model? I mean, creating a stacked wall or separate walls stacked on top of one another.
Okay. Yeah, I can look at that. I actually use a combination of both in here, looking at this project. So this project, if I zoom up on it, it's basically got some stone at the bottom, and it's going to more of a siding roof, a siding wall above that. So this is actually a stacked wall in there. So it's two walls that are stacked on top of each other. Just to kind of show you how that's created, if I go in and look at the properties of these, it's just taking two existing wall types in there that I've got in there, and I'm telling it to use the stone wall up to a 4-foot height, and then the siding wall in there just to make it variable height. So every time I draw this type of wall, it's going to have those two walls combined in there at that 4-foot height. So I like stacked walls. I think it's great. You don't always have to use them. If you don't want to use them, you can come in there and just use put two walls on top of each other. I think is a time saver though if you do go ahead and create the stacked walls if they're in the same area in there. It's going to be quicker and faster for you.
Okay, now are the files typically for Revit, are they typically very large? It seems like it would be a lot of information for one time. If so, does the larger files slow down the process like AutoCAD would?
They are larger. Yeah, I'm not going to lie about that. They are larger. Most of the computers nowadays, go out and buy the cheapest computer you can buy, and it's better than the computers we had, 4 years ago. It's better than the best computer. So I think computers are getting better and faster. These files are larger. Just to kind of give you an idea, this house plan that I'm looking in right now, if I go up and do a save as just to show you the file, I'm in this project right here. It's called Amy 2016. This was 24 megs as far as the size of it. So that's not huge. 24 megs is not great. It's large for an AutoCAD file, but it's not huge. And you can see that my computer's only got 8 gigs of RAM on it, and so it's not a souped-up machine. It's actually a Microsoft Surface is what I'm on right now. So it's not a souped-up computer at all. It's just an out-of-the-box Surface computer, and it's handling this fine. But I would typically say the file size, if you take your AutoCAD files, and they're all separate files, and if you take those AutoCAD files and add them up all together, that's about how big your Revit project's going to be. But again, Revit can handle a pretty large files. I've had projects, commercial projects, not a residential, but commercial. I've had projects, 600, 700, 100 megs, and so that's a big file. And it takes a little bit of time for it to open and everything. But once you're in it, again, it's pretty smooth. Once it has it open, it handles it pretty well.
Now, how does Revit go about handling electrical and mechanical elements of a building?
Sure, great question. Built into Revit, you do have Revit, the structural tools in here, and you also have the system tools in here for MEP. So in here we have duct tools that we can come in there and draw ductwork. If we want to draw ductwork or place mechanical equipment, we can place the mechanical equipment. We also have the plumbing fixtures in there that we can place that, and we can actually draw pipes if we want to draw the plumbing pipes in there. We've got access to all these commands that the typical MEP engineers are using on the project. They're all built into Revit here. Also electrical, where we come there and add things like light fixtures and maybe devices like outlets and things like that. So just to kind of show you as far as putting a couple of outlets in here, I don't think I have an electrical plan created in here, but I can just do it in this one. So if I want to come in and start showing some outlets in this plan, I'm just going to come up here. It's just like inserting a block essentially, but I can start this electrical fixture command. And there's not one loaded. Let me go out and load one real quick. I didn't realize there wasn't one loaded. I purged it out. But let me kind of load in a duplex outlet, essentially. And here's my simple duplex receptacle. Now that that's loaded, it's going to come in at the right height, and there's our places in there. Let me change one more setting real quick. I've got the electrical stuff, I believe I got it turned off. So I'm just going to make sure it's turned back on so I can see it. It's like turning a layer on or off. But now let me start that again. And when I place this, it's going to come in there and put it at the normal height, which is going to be 18 inches above the floor initially, but you can raise it up or down from there. So as I put electrical outlets on there, it's just a matter of coming in there and snapping to the wall, and it's going to snap it to the wall in there as I put it in there. So we can put a couple back here, maybe one over here by the front door, and put one there. So it's putting the symbols there. Now if we want to actually circuit this, we do have the capability of putting an electrical panel in there and actually creating electrical circuits to tell the program, which circuits these outlets are going to be on. So the tools are there. It's just a matter of putting them in there and modeling them.
Now, are there any energy modeling features?
There is. Out of the box, there's a couple that I'll talk about. If you go to the Analyze section of this program up here, first of all, you can run heating and cooling loads. That will allow us to determine how much air needs to be in these spaces to cool them, as far as what size air units we need in there. So that's kind of built in there as far as running some analysis tools like that. But there's also some tools in here that will allow us to go out and do whole building energy analysis. Now this is going to take the model and take it out to the cloud, and it can do things. You can tell it the location of where this is at, and it will go out and look at that location at the cost, the average cost of energy in that location, and start adding up and tell you whole building energy analysis as far as telling how much it's going to cost for the life cycle of the project or the building to operate the building, as far as how much it's going to cost to heat and cool the building, how much it's going to cost to light the building, and stuff like that. So lots of analysis there. There's also structural analysis that we can do as far as running our structural members in there and calculating the loads of the structural members. So that's available as well. You can also, there's all kinds of third-party programs out there too that works with these Revit models, and we can take it anywhere we want to. We could do acoustical design as far as doing some sound design in there. We could do airflow design as far as telling it where exactly how the air is flowing through the rooms in there. We could do that. We could do shadow studies, sun studies, lighting studies. It gets on and on as far as what we can do with this model. But the point is, the model is very intelligent that we can use for analysis in there, just depending on what you need.
Mm-hmm. One of the other question that came in was discussing customized furniture. There's a company that uses it when designing. They use SketchUp, and they use it due to the friendliness of the interface. Is there anything in Revit that offers maybe a new feature to solve the issue of a more friendly or easier to use interface?
Yeah, there's a whole side to Revit that's for conceptual tools in there, as far as just doing some conceptual masses, but I can create some conceptual families in there that's using a conceptual modeler that's very, very similar to SketchUp. Basically create a shape in there based off of an outline, and then once it creates the shape, it's got push and pull pins in there that you can push and pull and change to modify the shape, whatever. So it's very, very similar to that SketchUp push and pull fill. You can actually bring in SketchUp files into Revit. We could start creating a new family in there and bring in a conceptual SketchUp file into Revit and use that SketchUp file and then start putting Revit information on it. So yeah, it's got tools in there that I think is comparable to SketchUp. They're just a little bit different, I guess. So there's you got to go through some change process there as far as changing your mindset from one to the other, but basically I think the end result's about the same.
Now, another question that came in as well was, is there a database where you can find or can automatically modify objects globally? Let's say you're changing the size of a door, or do you just modify it in the schedules?
Sure. You can do it either place. You can do it in the schedules. The schedules can drive the geometry, but everything in the project, for example, this door that I pick on right here, there's two sets of properties to everything. The first set of properties is listed over here in the properties palette. This is what's called the instant properties. If I change anything in here, it's just going to change the one door that I've got selected there. But if I go to the second level of properties and go into edit type, these properties will change everywhere that this door type is inserted. So this is a 36 by 80 inch door type. So everywhere I've got the 36 by 80 inch door, if I change this information, it's going to automatically change them all. In there, or if we need another type in there, maybe we need a 34-inch type or whatever, we can take this type and easily duplicate it and create a new type in there, and I'll just change the name of this new type and put in 34. And when I do that, it creates me another type. So now I'm modifying a 34-inch type. Now to modify the dimension down here, I'm just going to come down and pick on the width dimension and change this to be 34 inches. And now I've just created me a new type. When I say OK, the one door that I had selected is now going to use that new type. I don't know if you saw it, but it just shrunk a little bit. So now it's 34 inches. So now I've got a 34-inch version of this door, but I also still have the 36-inch version if I want to go back and use that as well. So again, changing those type properties will allow you to globally change all those doors of that type throughout the project.
Okay, now when looking at electrical plans, if you don't want to model electrical fixtures, is it difficult, or can you place blocks on a floor plan?
You cannot place, I guess, I would not recommend doing that method. Essentially, this what I put in here, this little duplex outlet, this is a family, is what Revit defines it as, but a family is very similar to a block. So in a 2D view, all we see is the 2D symbol there. But if I do go to a 3D view, and we go back to a 3D view, it is putting in the 3D information of that outlet box. So you can, if I can zoom up on it, and yeah, it's inside the wall. But it is actually putting in there a 3D geometry of the actual box in there for it. So anyway, if you don't need the 3D-ness of it, we could just make a family that has nothing but the 2D lines here, just to show the outlet lines in there, just the symbology of it. So we can create 2D families or 3D families. They don't have to be 3D families. But I would not recommend using I guess we could insert in an AutoCAD block and copy it around. I wouldn't recommend that. I'll say this too: if we're creating a 2D family like this, we can import in an AutoCAD block and use that as the guts of the Revit family. So again, we can take advantage of your symbols that you may already have, so that we don't have to start over. And there's also a lot of them out of the box from that comes with the program, and so it may be already there for you. And if it's already there and you just don't like the look of it, we can go in there and easily change this line work to make it look however you want to make it look.
Okay. Now, I think we're going to go ahead and handle the questions there, but what we'll do is we can take the remainder of these and follow up on them either through email or a phone call, whichever prefer. But I wanted to make sure that we were able to do the giveaway. So I'm going to go ahead and say a name, and let's see. So David Hoffman, if you are on the webinar, please confirm by typing into the chat box, congratulations. Were there any final information, Mike, that you wanted to give, or we can go ahead and just finish up?
Yeah, I don't think so. Just reach out to us. I think this is, like I said, there's been some, I guess, people saying that Revit can't do houses or it's not made for houses. Whether it's made for it or not, I don't care. You can do it, and it's very, very powerful, and you can do a lot of neat things in there and get some great views in there to show off your designs in. So I think it's an excellent tool to use for residential.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. Again, congratulations, David Hoffman. We hope that each of you found this webinar informative and helped your business, and we look forward to seeing you on future webinars with Applied Software.